You should try some Zyra Mid. I think it's underrated. I don't think so. I think Zyra Mid is trash. Zyra will always have this issue as a champion where a lot of single target abilities and a lot of like melee champions one-shot her plants. So, and if she loses her plants, she does nothing as a champion. Yorick, for example, does not have the same issue because his ghouls are just tankier than champions, but Zyra plants just die. So, if you play like Mel or Rise into Zyra and you cast like E or Q, the plants will just die in one spell. People are just very bad at realizing, oh, just kill the Zyra plants and then she does nothing. Okay.
Help! Help!
Bro,
Help!
what is he doing?
Hold up.
What?
Come here, come here. Huh? What now? What? What now? What
What
now?
the fuck? What the fuck is this shit? How does he get away with it? How does he get away with it? That is just unbelievable. So I believe Dota 2 is way harder than League as gameplay and team fighting overall. I mean, this discussion between Dota and League, which game is harder, is a very hard discussion to have because it depends how you look at it. Like mechanically, League is way harder than Dota. It's not even close. And League is a lot more, you know, the timings are precise and stuff like that. But Dota is a lot more team-based, and there's, for example, characters like Meepo that there's no other character in League, right? That like you have to control multi-units and stuff like that. It just depends how you look at it. I think both games are hard in their own way. What I've realized about playing Dota is that grouping in that game is so OP, it is disgusting. Like, past laning phase, past like very early game, once you get like your core component, all you do in that game is just fucking group. Like literally. You just, because CC is so overpowered in Dota, you just pair damage with CC. I mean, similar in League, but not to the extent that it is in Dota. You just go to like any random tree where there's no vision, and you roam around the map, and you just wait to find somebody, you blink on them, and then somebody CCs and the other guy kills. And that's the whole gameplay. Grouping in Dota is so disgusting, and then at some point everybody just buys dusts and becomes perma-invisible the whole game. And then you just run around with invisibility. It makes me mad. That's why, in my opinion, the best way to have fun playing Dota for myself is to just play a farming hero. I have no fun in Dota playing a support, or I have no fun just not farming. I feel like farming is the most fun thing about Dota for me. Just perma-farming and fighting in between farming. When was the last time you watched competitive Dota? Never. Because the visual clarity in Dota is awful, and I don't understand what's happening on the screen. That's why I never watch Dota pro play. Like, yeah, I just don't know what's happening. You know what the problem with League items are, chat? I think the problem with League items is that we lack a lot of items, and the items probably have too little stats nowadays. Current version of League has the most simplified items ever, and they're probably one of the weakest items we've ever had in League. And so, in that sense, the champions kits are more important, right? But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think items in League should probably have like a little bit more stats, like by like 5% or something small. Because you guys remember that patch where Riot nerfed item stats by like 10% or something, all legendaries? Maybe we went a little bit too far back with that. And I think, you know, when durability patch happened in Season 12, back then it was mythic item era, and those items were the strongest items in the game. So the durability patch was needed back then. But nowadays, when the items are a lot weaker than they used to be, then the durability patch makes the game feel like there's too little damage maybe in the game. I don't really think it's like very far off right now. Maybe just a little bit more damage would be great. Riot has slowly been undoing their durability patch if you actually read the patch notes, because they keep nerfing 0.5 armor growth of champions and stuff like that. And 20 base health, 30 base health nerfs. Like those nerfs happen a lot every patch. Because Riot is actually undoing the durability patch a little bit over time. Now that's the first part that I think like what we could do with items. And then here's the second part that I see a lot of people don't talk about, okay? So listen very closely to this. Epic items in League are insanely bad. Epic items. I wish I could go in practice still to demonstrate this, but for example, look at this item, Hardbound Axe. This is an epic item and it is so bad. It is so unsatisfying to build. It doesn't even feel like a power spike when you complete it. Or let's give you another epic item that's really bad. Blighting Jewel. This item is horrible and it's an epic item. You spent 1.1k gold to literally just get nothing. Bami Cinder, I believe, is an epic item, is it not? I'm not sure if this is an epic item, but if it is, garbage. Complete garbage. Yeah, Tiamat is very bad, but maybe that's a good thing, right? Like, Tiamat being bad is maybe a good thing, because if it's good, then you like create this meta where champions rush Tiamat, one-shot wave, and just roam all the time. Example of an OP. Okay, let me give you an example of a very OP epic item that for some reason isn't nerfed. Catalyst of the Eons. This is an epic item that doesn't even give you anything offensive in stats. It just gives you mana and HP. And it is so overpowered. When you lane against this on mid lane and the champion buys this and completes this, you can't move them from the lane, no matter what champion you play. No champion in the game has enough damage to move a champion that buys Catalyst of the Eons. Epic items are very bad in League. Way too bad. Lost Chapter is busted though? I don't think so. I'm gonna have to disagree with that. I don't think it's weak, but I wouldn't call it busted. I think Lost Chapter is in a reasonable state. It takes away any early game mana problems, but mana is not a thing anymore in League on vast majority of characters. And you're also wrong about that. If you buy Lost Chapter on Veigar, you're still gonna have mana issues. It's just about what champion you play. Some champions, you don't even need to buy a mana item to have no mana issues, like Aurora. All you need is a mana flow band and your mana is fine, or a Zyra. You don't even need mana flow band, nor do you need a mana item, and your mana is fine if you manage well. Then there are champions like Veigar, where you can buy 2 mana items and you're going anyway. Like, we need to not overthink about mana anymore, because mana is not a stat that really is a stat in League anymore, you know what I mean? Like, most champions just manage mana easily these days. It's not a Lost Chapter issue. Lost Chapter is not the problem why mana is not a concern. Let me explain to you why this is the case. It's because Lost Chapter only gives you 300 mana. That's the whole thing, it's just 300 mana. Now you might be thinking, but Nemesis, there's a passive called Enlighten that levels up 20% of max mana. Bro, you usually get Lost Chapter on either level 5 or level 6 or level 7. That's like the averages, right? It depends on the game. By then, this passive procs very, very little in lane. Like, it's very little that this 20% of mana does like insane amounts in lane. You get the same amount of mana if you just buy a Sapphire Crystal, no? Sapphire Crystal is like such an efficient item. 300 mana for 300 gold. It's really good. This is why in a lot of mages, you actually just base on 700 gold nowadays. You get 1 Amplifying Tome, and you get a Sapphire Crystal. 700 gold base. It's really nice. This is why Baus stays on it on Gragas. Wrong. Baus does not stay on Lost Chapter on Gragas because of the passive. This is wrong. He doesn't only keep this item and not upgrade it to keep proccing Enlighten. Wrong.
Oi.
The reason why he stays on this item is because it's not worth upgrading to any of the 4 items, because Gragas doesn't use any of the 4 items well. Isn't the issue with Lost Chapter with how flexible it is? It can be used for every mage item. So what? If you look at other classes, they use only 1 item that is flexible for a lot of classes. Assassins will buy Serrated Dirk and it fits everybody, right? ADCs will buy whatever, Hardbound Axe nowadays, or Wrecker Bow, like, or in the past, ADCs were buying this item, what was it called? Quiver. You guys remember Mythic Item era? When ADCs were buying basically Quiver, which was equivalent of Lost Chapter and ADC but stronger. So what? Every class has only one item that is flexible, usually 1 or 2 items that are flexible for majority of champions. That's not a bad thing. Those items feel like shit compared to Lost Chapter. No, they don't. Are you gonna say that Kai'Sa, who bases on 1400 gold, let's say, and buys double longsword and a wrecker bow, are you gonna say she feels bad compared to a Lost Chapter user? I don't think so. Lost Chapter fixes a lot of issues, but for a rather small price. Well, that's my point. It doesn't. You can buy literally tier, and it's like equivalent to having a Lost Chapter on your champion. Lost Chapter is just like, it's nice because it gives you 300 mana, 400 ability power, and 10 AP. That's like for a pretty decent price. I'm not saying the item is weak. It's not. It's for sure over average strength, but it's not, I wouldn't call it like super OP item. I said 400 AP, 40 AP. Like for example this, look at this guys. Scout Slingshot is considered an epic item in League, and it's 600 gold. This is the worst item in the game. This is an item that feels fucking bad to buy, and you should almost never buy it unless you have literally nothing else to buy, right? Like epic items in League just feel really bad, which is what I was saying earlier. Like Caulfield's Warhammer is an epic item that feels bad to buy, because you get 20 AD, which is 700 gold, and then you get 10 ability haste, which is not worth 350 gold. Like Fiendish Codex used to be really good because it used to give 35 AP, then they nerfed this item to 25 AP. And now it's like, kind of feels bad meant to buy early. Like I'm not a big fan of Hectech Alternator either, because it costs 1100 gold, but instead of this, you could just spend 800 gold for double Amplifying Tome, and you get almost the same amount of AP minus the Passio. You know what I mean? So yeah, looking at it now, I do think Catalyst of the Eons is the strongest epic item in the game, maybe. And Lost Chapter is one of the better epic items, for sure. But because everything else is so bad and so weak, it makes you think that Lost Chapter is an amazing item. When in reality, I think everything else just sucks. That's the issue. Like the Brutalizer, bro. 1337 gold to get like these little stats. Come on. This is a joke. Or like Tunneler. To be honest, Tunneler doesn't feel insanely bad because the health is just OP stat, I think. That's why I think Tunneler doesn't feel as bad. Verdant Barrier, bro. If anybody buys this, like this item is illegal that it costs this much. It's illegal. Garbage. Complete garbage of an item. That's why people stack longswords these days? Yes. Longsword stacking is OP. It always has been OP. Back in the day when mages had Amplifying Tome for 435, you know at how much of a disadvantage we were playing? Because Longsword was so much superior to Amplifying Tome. Now it's a lot more equal because Amplifying Tome got buffed to 400. When was the last season of League of Midlane? Last season where Midlane was the best role? In my opinion, that was probably in season 5. Or maybe season 7. So, long time ago is the answer. A Riot Designer said Hwei's weak late game, do you agree? You're gonna have to post a source on that. I don't believe things on the internet that Riot said that. Whether, like, to know if a champion is strong or weak late game is very easy, okay? All you have to do is just look at the graph of win rate. This graph right here. You have to just look at win rate game length graph, and what you realize when you look at Hwei's graph is that the longer the game goes, the worse the champion gets. Now, obviously, I don't even have to look at the graph. I'm highly enough of a player, and I have Hwei as most played champion that I know the champion is not that good late game. Why is Hwei not good late game, you might ask? Well, let me explain to you why Hwei is not good late game. It's very easy to understand why this champion is not good late game. First of all, obviously very skill shot reliant champion. E, R, and Q are very missable. So that's something to consider. Second of all, his AP scalings are the problem. Why it's not good late game. His AP ratios are the reason why. Riot weak on the state of Hwei. Wait, hold on, let me check that. I'm actually curious. This is a Riot Designer? I never heard of this guy, Riot weak. Bro, I need to hear what they say about my champion. This is very important and dear to me right now.
I'll wait for you guys to say and then I'll give my opinion. See, what do you guys think is Yone's most unfair spell?
What do you guys think it's Yone's most unfair spell? I'll wait and then give you guys my opinion. I feel like he's gonna say W, but most people would say E.
Wait for you guys to say, and then I'll give my opinion. See, most people say E. I think it's his W, and I honestly don't think it's close. I think Yone's W is so. The word I would use is ignorant. I think his W.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I immediately knew he was gonna say that. W is like the spell that makes Yone basically be able to lane and trade against champions.
W is so ignorant. It's just he walks up and goes like this. It just gives him an on-demand shield that does percent health. Oh, it's so funny, that move. It's so funny. It's fun to use.
No,
I
but that's
smile when I use it.
bro. That's not the Hwei clip. No, did I? Is it this one?
Even thinking about the state of Hwei, I feel like he's underpowered in late game compared to a champ like Xerath. That's probably true. It's probably good though. I don't think Hwei should have a super strong late game. Hwei's laning phase is pretty good. Hwei's lane isn't bad at all. He probably shouldn't have a super strong late game. He might be weak. I think Hwei has a problem where if Hwei's not like overpowered, he's like he feels a little bit unsatisfying sometimes. But I still think Hwei's the most fun mage in the game. Hwei has a problem with
Most fun mage in the game. He's definitely very fun, as he wouldn't have such a strong player base, even when he's weak. So that makes sense. He's fun in a sense that because he's very unique. But let me actually listen to the whole short, and then I'll give you guys my take.
with like agency. That's why I don't play Hwei as much anymore. Even though I love Hwei, he's my favorite mage in the game. I'll say it once, I'll say it again, I'll say it 30 times. He's my favorite mage in the game. He's so fun. But the reason why I don't play Hwei anymore is because he's just like it's an agency thing. You get like it's so easy to do like 70% of your team's damage on Hwei and then lose. That's like so easy to do.
So it's like he's describing Xerath, essentially, in a way. But yeah, so first of all, Riot does not want Hwei to have a good late game because they want Hwei to be more of a Lux, which is what I've said a lot of times. Personally, I would like the opposite. Like if you ask me, as someone who has Hwei most played champion in 2024, I think this champion would be ultimately more fun if he was better late. And that's why I think what is lacking with Hwei. I just think scaling champions are just more fun in League. Like this ability triggers me. Bad base damage, bad AP scale. This is just a very obvious ability. I would really like, for example, I have a problem with this ability. As much as it's fun to use, it is essentially a pretty no skill ability, Stirring Lights, like the ability that gives him free mana restore and bonus magic damage. And I'm happy that Riot nerfed it recently. And I'm also happy they buffed his passive. His passive was very underwhelming for a long time. And they gave his passive basically a better level scaling, which is a late game buff. So I like that. But yeah, the thing that kind of pisses me off is definitely like the E ability, just in my opinion, is just like such an underwhelming AP ratio. And Riot also recently buffed the ultimate. The ultimate was very bad for a long time. But now the ultimate is not as bad anymore. But for example, Cassiopeia is a champion that has a very bad ult still. But yeah, so first of all, he's talking about his late game shouldn't be probably good. They want him, like, I think Riot doesn't want every champ, I guess, to be a scaling champ, right? I think he said that the problem is if Hwei is not OP, then he doesn't feel like satisfying to play. I think the reason why that happens is because Hwei essentially has too much utility in the kit. That's why this happens. It's because this W spell takes away so much of his power budget because it's utility that he's not like a pure selfish champion, I guess. He's not like a Syndra where every spell is basically for herself. He's a mix of, hey, we want you to be a support. It's kind of like Lux, right? Like Lux is, you can play her mid lane, but she still has a W spell that is purely just utility. And it's kind of similar for Hwei W as well. Like imagine Hwei W was utility, but only for himself. Because a lot, like, you know what I mean? That would be so much different for the champion. What if Hwei could only give Moonspit to himself? And what if Hwei could only give a shield to himself? Maybe I would actually prefer that version of Hwei myself.